Welcome back to my corporate headquarters. Like I said, my business is, I've got really good managers, so I do things where I want. So corporate headquarters. Oh, by the way, this is my favorite corporate suit. My coffee. We're ready to go. Okay, I've broken what we'll be covering today into two parts. Part one is how to get a better price for the things you normally buy and the services you normally use: telephone, internet, cable, professional services, doctor, dental, and bills and such. Now this part will be easy, and it'll take me less than 10 minutes to tell you what you need to know. Okay? Part two, that's not quite so easy, but you'll get it, okay? That's a crash course in basic negotiating. Negotiating on the big stuff: a raise, a promotion, a better job, big purchases like a home or a business. And again, don't worry about taking any notes or trying to remember what we're covering. Just sit back and listen and think about what I'm saying. At the end of the course, you get a link to all the notes you need. No problem, okay? Okay, let's start with the everyday stuff, all right? In my introductory video, I said that the goal of any business is to make the most money you can, not to give you the best price or the best deal. And what I will do is show you how to do just that. When and where to ask and how to do it. I also said, I'm telling you, this is at least 500 to 1,000 bucks more in your pocket a year, and for like an hour or two of your time. So that's great pay, obviously. Okay, the bottom line is this: when people asked for a better price, they got one more than 2/3 of the time. And surprise, surprise, people who asked for a lower medical bill, doctor and dental and such, got one 58% of the time. But over 70% of the time, people just don't ask. Either they don't know the money's there, they don't know how to ask for it, or they're just uncomfortable doing it, which I think for a lot of people is the case. The money's there, but how you ask has a big impact on whether you're going to get it or not, and especially on how much you're going to get, all right? What you need to do is actually very easy, and anyone can do it. Most of the time, all you need to do is to know to do 3 simple things. Simple as tying your shoes, and 2 simple sentences. That's all we're going to do. Watch this. This is cool. You do these things, and most of the time, the money's yours. A lower price, better deal. I mean, it's interesting, all right? Okay, let's go with the first do. Always ask for a lower price whenever there's any chance you think you can get one, any possibility. That's the first do. And I'm talking about not bags of rice at Walmart, but any possibility. And you're going to see that. I'm going to tell you some stories. That's the first do. So always ask. Number 2, always like the product and be very friendly to the salesperson selling you. Most salespeople have discounts they've been told to use, but use sparingly. And who do you think they give them to? They give them to the people that are the friendliest, that they like the most of the time. And that's also how you get the very best deal. So keep that in mind, all right? So do number 2, always very positive about the product and very friendly to the person. And that's 2 do's. Now, okay, now what? Now it's time. Once they give you a price, here's your 2 sentences. You ready? You know, I really like it, but it's more than I can afford to pay. Can you do any better? That's it. That's your 2 sentences. I really like it, but it's more than I can afford to pay. Can you do any better? And then there's the third and final do. Shut up. Shut up. Don't say a word. Don't comment on the product, the weather. Don't clear your throat. Just be totally silent. And here's why. Remember this. Almost all the time, he who speaks first loses. I'm not kidding you. He who speaks first loses. So, shut up, okay? And remember something too. You can always walk away and buy this whatever somewhere else. But if you do, they lose the sale. So the pressure's actually greater on them than it is on you. Interesting, huh? Okay. Then let's say they come back with a lower price. You're not done. Maybe there's more. That could maybe only the first level, right? So what do? Same thing. Same thing. You essentially repeat your magic sentences, and once again, shut up. Now, there's a trick that you also want to avoid here. You want to do your best to avoid what's called a reverse trap. An reverse trap is where the other party asks you how much you'd like to pay. Well, how much would you want to pay for it? If you answer that, that can hurt you. So avoid it. Here's what I would respond. Say it a little bit painfully. I don't know, but it's just too much. And if that doesn't work, and if you have to give them an answer, give them a low but not crazy low number. And after that, if you're happy with what you get, great. If you're not, thank them, again, very friendly, thank them for trying to help you, and say you'll have to think about it, and then start to walk away. Think about it is a kiss of death to most salespeople. Now, if they're out of options, they're going to let you walk. If not, here comes the better offer yet. And also remember this, if they let you walk, or let you hang up or whatever, you can usually come back in a couple of minutes later and take the deal anyway, usually, okay? So that's it. So let's summarize. It's really very simple. Number one, always ask. Always. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories to illustrate that. Always. Number two, always be very friendly to the salesperson. Always love the product. That makes it easier to do too, doesn't it? Okay. Then, say your 2 sentences. I really like it, but it's more than I can afford to pay. Can you do any better? And then shut up. Not satisfied? Say you have to think about it and walk away and start to walk away and see what happens. Now, there's a couple other things you might do. If it's an individual or a small company, once you've gotten the best price you can, then you know what you do? Ask them, what if I pay cash? And then as before, shut up. I can't tell you what percent of the time that's worked for me. It's high. I mean, really high. A number of times, $200 on $800 dental bill and such. They want the cash, baby, and you know why, okay? Now, next thing I want you to do, call every single company you deal with and ask for a lower rate or fee. That's every credit card, bank account, loan, your mortgage, your rent, everything. Because there's a really good chance the money's there in a few minutes. Now, a specific for you. If you're talking about a phone, cable, or internet service, once you're done with the person on the line, and regardless of what they gave you, here's what you say. Gee, can you tell me how I go about canceling my service? Now, I didn't say I would cancel it, did I? I wanted to know if I cancel it, how do I go about it, right? But you say, gee, can you tell me how I go about canceling my service? That gets you transferred to the Save the Customer group, who almost always have another block of discount they can give you. And you don't have to cancel anything. You're just doing what you can to get what you can, and why not? It's your money and you work for it, okay? Now, once you're done on the line, once you're on the line with the Save the Customer group, same game. Boy, I love Verizon. You guys do a good job. He said, but it's more than I can afford to pay. Even what the discount he said, it's a little bit, but can you do any better? Shut up, right? Same stuff. You'd be surprised. It's not uncommon, and I've seen this many times, to knock $20 to $30 a month off your bill. That's $240 to $360 a year cash, and for what? 10 minutes of your time? So it's interesting. Oh, another little tip. Before you call a specific major business, such as, say, a telephone or cable company, go online and spend 10 to 15 minutes. Google how to get a better price from Comcast or whoever it is, right? Interesting. There's almost always some really cool tips, okay? So before you make that call to a major business, Google how to get a better price out of X, whoever that company is. And that kind of stuff, the internet can be very helpful at times. So that's it for part one. So let's summarize. Always ask on every kind of service, every kind of product, unless you're darn sure there's no way it's there. Love the product, love the person. Say your 2 sentences, and then shut up. And I'm telling you, at least $500 to $1,000 a year of money you work hard for in like an hour, a couple hours, okay? Now, but before we go on to part 2, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. I could tell you I can't tell you. They happen weekly for me, almost, okay? In business and personal. But the two stories I'm telling you have a purpose, okay? Story number one. My wife and I are in a discount mall in a Donna Karan store. And my wife sees this awesome work blouse. I mean, it is really something, okay? It's a $90 blouse. But it's a discount mall, right? So it's 40% off. It's 56 bucks. But I can't help it. Let me tell you something about this thing. About this thing about asking for prices. Don't let it bother you. You're going to find after a while it's fun to do. You know, to me, and I think you'll get this way too, it's like playing a little video game. And when you win, you don't get points, you get bucks. It's really cool, and it's fun. After a while, you almost can't resist doing it. And this is an example of it. I couldn't resist it. 56 bucks in a discount mall, Donna Karan store, but I couldn't resist it. So here's what happened. Ready? So I said, wow, it's, you know, I started my sentences, right? Oh, you know, boy, that's really great, but, and she cuts me off. She says, oh yeah, we just got that in. Isn't that something? I said, yeah, it really is. She says, yeah, she says, it's awesome. I said, yeah, you know, we love it, but it's more than we can afford to pay. Can you do any better? Shut up. Right, okay. What do I get back? You ready? Oh, gee, no, I can't. You know, that's going to sell right out. That is really so nice and everything. The best I can do, I can give you a 10% special customer discount. Duh. Did you know there was a special 10% customer discount in a Donna Karan outlet store? Huh? I'm making a point with this story. I can tell you a lot of stories like this. What's the point? Any possibility, ask, right? Ask. Okay. Story number two. Story number two makes the point of why it's important to be friendly and like everything, right? Okay, here's that story. So one of my daughter-in-laws wants to take my grandson and her husband to Disney World. And she really wants to stay in this nice hotel. It's more expensive than some of the others. So she calls the reservation desk, the reservation group, right? And she has a young man on the line. And she knows what to do. You know, we really love your hotel, but what we can afford to pay. Can you do any better? Shut up. She's doing everything she can. And they're chatting, and he's trying to help her. Do you have AAA? Do you have this, that? Nothing amounts to anything much. They've been on the phone, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 minutes. And she repeats it again. It never hurts to repeat it again. And here's what she says, basically. She says, you know, that's really too bad, but, you know, you got such a great place, and I know my son would really love it, but I guess it's just more than we can afford. So what does she hear come across the other end of the line? Now, this is the young man now, right? Are you ready? Young man. Oh, you're talking about the Facebook discount. Yeah, we got that. And my daughter was stupid. She goes, yeah, that's the one. She saved $250 on a 3-night stay. $250. So the moral of that story was, duh, be nice. He liked her. She said, yeah, she seems nice to me. Here, I'll tell her about the Facebook discount. Interesting, huh? So there you go. That's part one. That's how to save $500 to $1,000 for a few hours of your time and have fun doing it. You will have fun. I'm telling you, after a while it becomes fun. It's like a video game, I tell you. Okay, now, on to part two. This deals with getting a better price or a better deal when it comes to the really big stuff. Buying a car or a home, getting a raise, a promotion, a better job and such. Might even help you on your current job, depending on what you do in terms of doing your job, depending on what your job is. Now, for this stuff, what we're going to do is give you a quick crash course on basic negotiating. Now, a complete course on negotiating can often take dozens of hours and cost thousands of dollars, and we're not going to do that. But interestingly enough, we're going to cover most of what you need to know, and do it in next few minutes. And I think you're going to see this stuff really isn't as hard. The biggest thing that's been missing is practice, which in this case, you got to go do on your own for real, okay? Now, before you start, decide who is going to appear to be the negotiator. Say you're buying a house or a car, and one of you is better at hiding his or her feelings. That person becomes the apparent negotiator, and you act like that person's making the decisions. If it's another person, you can say, well, he knows more about buying cars than I do, and he's loaning me some money, and so I promised him he really has to decide, not me, right? So get first little step. Now, Understand, it's you making the decisions. They just don't know it. They don't need to. Okay? Now, before we get into the further details here, you're going to feel like I'm covering a lot of stuff here, like a dozen or more steps. Don't sweat it. Just listen and absorb, because you're going to get everything in your notes. And then what you do is, you're not that often you're negotiating something that big. And when it happens, be it once a year or twice a year, whatever, what you do is you take out the notes and you make a checklist of your do's and don'ts. You go through it. You plan. You spend maybe an hour or so prepping, an hour or two prepping. This is a big decision. Getting a better job? A house? So no, don't worry about, we're going to cover a lot of details. Please don't worry about it. It's nothing but a 15-point list when you're done. Okay? Okay. Now another thing. When it comes to buying a car or getting a raise, a promotion, or a better job, there's a lot of additional things specific you need to know about that circumstance. Now, it does not mean that what we're covering now doesn't apply to those situations, because it does. It's just there's more yet to know when you're dealing with a professional car salesman or negotiating with your boss or whatever. Now, as to buying a car, the added stuff you need to know is in the video on that subject, how to buy a car smart, really smart. As for getting a raise, a promotion, or a better job, I really got lucky here. I found several really good articles on that particular subject, and the links to them will be in your notes today. This is some really good stuff, so be sure you read those notes to give yourself the best possible preparation. Good stuff, okay? Okay, let's move on to negotiation in general, okay? There are 4 keys to successful negotiation: knowing enough information, having time on your side, having other options, other choices, and negotiating smart. Knowing enough information, having time on your side, having other options, and negotiating smart. Let's start with knowing enough information. Knowledge is power. It is. And here's some key things you need to know before you start any negotiation. First, know what you want and can afford. You got to know what you want before you sit down. You need to decide how important it is to get what they're offering and at what point you walk away. And you have to have a target price or a set of terms you're shooting for. You need a list of your wants and prioritize the list. Some things you'll give them. Some things you got to have, and some things you're willing to trade, right? And you got to have your little list to know in advance what you're going to use for trading chips and what you're not. All right? Next point on knowledge. Know what they want. Now, it's not so easy sometimes, but you really should dig in as best you can. Try to learn as much as you can about what they want. Don't just assume you know. That you know, if they're selling something, why are they selling it? Maybe you try to find out what their cost was. Ask questions, dig into this thing, and try to evaluate. And by the way, when you're talking to them, pay attention to their responses, because that will be tipping you off. You watch what they seem to get uptight about and what they seem to be less loose about. Find out what matters most to them, okay? And where their limitations might be. Let me give you an example. Say someone's selling their home and they've already found the next one they want to buy. Maybe they're even under contract on it. You think they're now more motivated to sell? Heck yeah. Okay? And that maybe getting the highest price may no longer be as important as just getting the darn thing sold? See? Know the other party's best situation as much as you can. Next, it's easy to overvalue things like the price and undervalue other things like a quick sale or a reliable party to do business with. Sometimes liking, or at least being comfortable with the person you're doing business with, can make a big difference. Now, hey, we talked about that in the earlier, right? Always be friendly, always like things. I'll give you an example. I've seen a number of times in my real estate career where the simple fact that the buyer really liked someone's house and taste made a big difference. That when the sellers found out that the buyers loved their house and wished they could pay more, but just couldn't, the buyers were willing to negotiate the price better, noticeably better. Interesting, huh? Again, you got this in your checklist. Don't just absorb right now, all right? Next, know who can make the decision. You really need to know that the person you're negotiating with has the authority to make the deal. Don't assume it. For example, you're talking to a sales manager at an auto dealership. He or she has got the authority. The salesman probably doesn't. And if it's a small business, it's the owner who probably has the thing, not the employee. So always ask who you're talking to if she or he has the authority on their own to agree to a binding deal. And if they don't, you gain an advantage. From that point on, you treat that person as someone helping you by relaying your offer to the decision maker. And never forget who you're really negotiating against, okay? So there are some things to do, and why knowledge is really power. And the bottom line is try to learn as much as you can. Don't just put some preparation in. These are big things. Buying a house, a job, a raise, these are big. So put in an hour or two. Prepare a little bit. You're going to have the checklist, okay? All right, hold on. Next, having time on your side. Time is extremely powerful. You got to know your time desires and your time limitations. When do you need this, whatever? And you got to learn what their limitations are. Do they need to sell it? Do they need to do it? Do they need to fill the job now? All things being equal, the person who has the biggest time limits is at a disadvantage. So that's telling you something too. Don't go waiting until the last minute to start searching for whatever you want, a house, a job, or whatever. Having too tight a deadline reduces the power you have. It reduces the time you have to shop around, and reduces your choices, and reduces your ability to negotiate a best deal or best price or deal. Okay? So I'll repeat that. Don't wait too long. Don't wait till, allow a lot of time, quite a bit of time in advance before you sit down or before you buy or before you offer. Okay? All right. Next, time. We're still dealing with the power of time and its limitations. If you don't get what you want, can you put off purchasing or doing this thing until the conditions improve or there's other options? Because the option to buy now or later is very powerful. If you can't, if you're under a time pressure, you got to do your best to disguise where you're at. Think about it and plan. How am I going to disguise this? You know, comments you'll drop or something. Well, yeah, there's this other house, or well, there's possibly. Prepare. Even because if you're in a time trap, you don't want the other person to know. Okay. Next, point 3. Have other options if possible. I just started on that, didn't I? Competition is your strongest ally. The more options you have, the better. And you need to understand where both people are in this. You know, usually the pressure is the greatest on the person doing the selling. And you should assume that, unless you have a good reason not to. You want to ask yourself and think about it. What is their competition? How much do they charge? If the competitive element is your favor, you want the other party to know that. But be subtle. Don't overpower that point, or they'll think you're not serious and turn off and wait for someone else who is. Okay? Okay, point 4. Negotiate smart. For openers, use what you just learned about, how to get the price of deal. Use that. It's the same stuff. Always be friendly. You got to tone down the idea this is a contest. You want to act like you're creating a win-win. Gee, I'd love to buy your house, but, all right? That's silence. Remember, then the shut up, silence is very powerful. Use it. During this negotiation, stop, use it. Because what will happen is, same story, he who speaks first loses. You'd be surprised, you shut up, and all of a sudden, they start offering something else. Whoa, I like that, okay? Avoid reverse traps, where they ask you how much you want to pay and such, all right? Next, ask for, again, I'm going to stop you for a second. I know I'm hitting you with a lot of points. Don't sweat it. You're going to get like a 15-point checklist, and you're going to do something like this, once or twice a year, and you take your checklist, you spend a little time, you write some notes, you think it through, you'll do good. You'll do good, okay? All right, next, ask for everything you can at the start. You're never going to get more than you ask for in the beginning. So don't, under no circumstances, cut anything when you start. Ask for everything you think you could possibly want to start, okay? Now, one of the things you got to realize here too is that the normal pattern of things is you end up in the middle, right? Like I'm asking 10,500 for my car. I'll offer you 9,500. No, I want 10,300. No, I want 9,800. And you settle at 10. You also want to avoid that, and we'll talk about that. But if you have to make the first offer, if you have to, make it painfully but not ridiculously low. And don't let that bother you, because the person you're dealing with is either a salesperson or a business person. They got no problem doing that to you, believe me. By that I mean the opposite, saying, oh, I want this, you know, or I'll only pay you this. And you go, what? You know, they'll do it. So don't worry about it. Painfully, not ridiculously low, okay? Now, when you ask for more than you give, negotiation, you're going back and forth. It's not as simple as, you know, boom, okay? And so negotiations play out like a bit of back and forth, giving us something to get something. When you give in on something, you're entitled to ask for something in return. So when you do, ask for something more valuable than what you gave. And the difference might not even matter as much to them as you think. And also, when you're doing these tradings, pay attention to how they're reacting, because you're learning what matters most to them. They may give up. You may be surprised. Oh, on a job. Oh, healthcare after 30 days? Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll take that. You know, you don't know. You don't know. Okay? Next, when it's something significant, which I would say most of the time, okay, don't answer right away. Somebody says, well, all right, you know, we're willing to pay you X bucks a month and this vacation. Take some silence again. Power silence. Because two things will happen. By you think things out a little bit, number one, you've created some silence, and maybe they respond, oh, all right, look, well, maybe the most we can do is, okay? Number one. The other thing is you need to think it out. And the reason is because once you answer, you can't pull it back. If you agree to whatever it is, you can't, oh, I changed my mind. So think it through. And there's another thing too. If you answer things too quickly, they assume it was easy, and they'll go for more. And that is not good. Use some pain when you need to. And that, let's get to that next. A little play acting doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. When you give something that's big, sizable, try to make it look like it was painful, even though you decided, okay, I could do it, okay? Purse your lips, shake your head a little bit, and then painfully make that concession and ask for one in return that's even bigger, a little bit, right? Surprisingly, sometimes just flinching will do it. You're like, oof, just nothing, right? Or, all right, look, don't be afraid to do these things, and don't be afraid to do them more than once, okay? Next, this I was going to allude to this earlier. Make them go out of turn. This thing about turns, you know, you go, then I go. The more times you can make somebody go out of turn, the more you win. And when you do, believe me, a big difference. Now, if somebody's good at negotiating, they're not going to let you get away with it. But a lot of people aren't that good. So don't, rather than answer, you know, try to make them out of turn. If someone's selling something, they probably ready to set a price. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say someone's a car, okay, let's use a car. What do you want for the car? 10,900. Now, no, I shouldn't, I'm wrong, start again. You know what they want for the car. You've called, you came, the price is 10,900, right? You know the price. Now, the standard thing that people do, you know, I'll offer you 9,500. Don't do that. How do you know where that person is on that car? Maybe they reached the point where they got to sell it. Things aren't going well. I've seen this happen. It's very interesting. You don't know. So what you do is you don't give them a price. You try not to. So 10,900. You're looking at the car. Oh, I like the car. Yeah. You know, it's a really great car and everything, but you know, it's more than I can afford to pay. Can you do any better? You didn't answer their price. You just said it's more than better. If they answer, you're getting them to go against themselves. The 9,500 to 10,900 you were going to split. You're not splitting it anymore. But there's something else. I've seen this again and again. You don't know where somebody's really at. Let me tell you what I call the Christmas tree story. Now this isn't significant money, but it makes the point. So one of my sons and I and his grandsons, they're shopping for their Christmas tree, and I happen to be with him. And he finds the tree he wants. And it's, trying to remember, I think it was about 50, it was 50 something. It was 53, 55, 54,000, something like that, okay? 54,000, $54. And he said, well, I think I'll go offer him 50. I said, Dan, no, don't offer him 50. And I told him what to do. Tell him, boy, it's a great tree, but you know, it's more than we afford to pay. Can you do any better? Shut up. He goes back and he's shaking his head and he's going, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. What? I got it for 35 bucks. I said, what? Yeah. I said, you know what it is? He has too many trees. He's got to get rid of them. And you didn't even know. If you had said 50 bucks, you'd have taken it like that. Instead, you got it for 35. Now, that's a $15 story, right? What if it's a car, a house, your job? So, again, summarizing that point, try to break the pattern of you go, they go, and try to break it from the get-go. And again, if you go against somebody that's really good at negotiation, they won't let you get away with it. But an amazing amount of people will. Okay, this is a good place to raise something a little related to what we just talked about. Who goes first? Most of the time, when it comes to getting a raise or promotion, most of the time, the people who have earned a raise or promotion, they usually don't ask for one. They wait for the boss to offer it. Don't do that. If you feel confident you deserve that raise or that promotion, sure your employer is happy with your performance now, right? Don't wait. Don't wait. No harm done it. Believe me, I employ loads and loads of people. I can tell you, if somebody's doing a good job and they come to me and they say, gee Ted, you know, I really think I've earned a raise at this point. I'm not negative to them, especially if they're good at their job. I don't want to. You think I want to lose the employee because they cared enough about themselves to come ask? Huh? It's interesting. All right? So if you're really good at your job, you've earned the right, ask. Don't wait for them to offer you the raise. And what'll happen is, say maybe you won't get it that day. You know what? But you know what? Bet you anything you'll get it a lot sooner than you would have. I'll bet you will. I've seen it again and again. Okay. And again, when it comes to getting the best deal on a raise or a job, be sure to check out those 2 articles I give you in the links at the end. I mean, they're good. They're really good. I was surprised at the points they made, okay? It's a quick read, and you need it, all right? Next, never, when you're negotiating, never flat out reject any request, all right? You don't know where that's going to take you, so don't close the door on it. Just say, I can't agree to that at this time. Or you could say, gee, I can only do that if, and then ask for something you know is a deal breaker for them, usually cost. So we repeat that, okay? If you get hit with something that you know is big, you say to them, I can't agree to that at this time. Or else you say to them, I can only do that if you, and then something you know is a deal breaker for them, all right? That's a good way to hold off that issue. You're not done, you're holding it off. You can get back to it later if you want to, if it's good to do. Next, don't over-focus on dollars. You know, dollars matter. Price is very important, but don't let that become your sole focus. See, price is usually the most important negotiating point, and it's important to hit it hard and hit it early. But at some point, you're likely to hit a wall on the price. Shift to non-price issues if they can noticeably sweeten the deal. And I'll tell you, it's not uncommon that people focus too much on the price and not enough on other stuff. I mean, on jobs, your boss. I mean, your boss ain't God. Believe me. And by the way, most bosses aren't trained to do this negotiation. You want something interesting? Think about that. You prepare thoroughly. Sorry, I'm going to tell you, most bosses are not trained in negotiation like this, even the basic stuff. Pretty cool, huh? Go get them. If you've earned it. Now, if you've earned it, right? Okay. Next, be patient. Whenever you're negotiating something, be patient. It's a process. It's not a moment, okay? So if you hit an impasse and everything stops, wait. Back to silence, right? Or back to, I don't know, right? Most people, if you'll do that to them, become a little uncomfortable. And there you go. You're playing the game again, aren't you? And they're likely to give you something. Now, if they don't, you still have other options. You can tell them you're going to think about it. Here's one approach to a job, something big, okay? A house. Tell them you need to think about it, and you'll give them an answer first thing tomorrow morning. If they say no, or that they have another offer or another situation, you're there. You got to decide yes or no, okay? But at least you know you did the best you could, right? Okay. If they do say they'll think overnight, when you call back in the morning, act under pressure and ask again, is there any way they can do a little better? And what do you do after that? Remember? Shut up, right? Always shut. Geez, you know, the job I want, is there any way you can do it a little better? Okay. If that fails, you either got to agree or risk losing whatever it is. Okay, but you know, again, you did your very best. Now, there's a couple of little wrinkles on this negotiating. Let me give you the first one. You need, if it's a repeat purchase, you need to create a win-win. Why? When you're not a repeat purchaser, you don't need ongoing service. You can be as aggressive as you want to be. But what if you're dealing with this person? They're a relationship. Don't overdo it. The best deal is a win-win for both, okay? And you can do it. You can create a win-win. That's what you want. So keep that in mind. You don't overpressure somebody you're going to do business for regularly. Next little wrinkle. Watch out for follow-up costs. There's certain situations where the purchase is cheap, but the follow-up costs aren't. Simple example, and business is a lot of them, but I'll give you some personal examples. Copy machines, printers, and air cleaners are cheap. The profits in the toner cartridges, filters and such, right? You know that. I mean, I just bought a copier for $95, beautiful copier, okay? Yeah, but I'll probably spend $300 on the cartridges over the next 3 or 4 years, right? So when you're negotiating, look at that whole picture. Don't just look at the item. And it's not so much when you buy a printer, but there's business services or other services where you really got to take a look, I don't know, landscaping, cleaning, whatever it is, you know, where you don't just look at, okay, I'm going to come clean. What is the repeat costs? Take a look at that, okay? Next, don't agree till you're all done. Don't ever send the signal, okay, yeah, we're going to do it. Don't send that signal. Once you do, you're done. Your power's gone. So you don't send that signal. You don't say to somebody, yeah, I'll do business with you, until you are willing to accept the deal you got. Because otherwise, you're done. Okay, so that's it. And again, for the third time, I'm going to tell you, don't remember having to remember all this. Don't worry about remembering all this stuff. It's all in your notes. Your notes are detailed. It gives you what you need. And again, when that time comes, once or twice a year, you're doing something big, you take your list, you sit down, you think it through, you prepare, okay? And that way you win, baby. You do. I've done it so many times. Okay, so let's summarize. We first covered how to get a better price or deal out of almost anything. And I said all you got to do is 3 simple things and say a couple of sentences. So let's summarize. First, always ask. You never know. The doctors, the dentists, my story about Donna Karen, always ask, okay? Always love the product, love the person, be friendly. Say your 2 sentences. Gee, I really like it, but it's more than I can afford to pay. Can you do any better? And shut up, right? Okay. Now, summarizing the keys to negotiating the big stuff. Point 1, you need to know enough information. Knowledge is power. You got to think through what you want, what you can afford. You got to figure out as best you can what it is they want. And be sure you're dealing with the person who can make the decision. Point 2, time is an enormously powerful thing. Like I tell you, prepare early. If you're going to do something, a house, a job, don't limit your time. You want more choices. Time is a powerful, and if you're out of time, the classic example is the person that sold their house and has bought another house, hasn't sold theirs yet, is under contract, duh. So use time as your ally, not as your enemy, okay? Time, that's a real thing to remember. Time in everything can either be your biggest friend or your worst enemy, on everything. Don't let it be your enemy, okay? Like we talk about financial freedom. People have this thing about they wait forever. No. Do it now, not 10 years from now or 3 years or next month, okay? Time, make it your friend. It's powerful. Okay, next, have other options. People that have more options are going to be in better shape. You know that. It's obvious. If you've got another house you can buy and they know it, there's another job that you know you can get and they know it, and if you don't, right? Okay. And lastly, negotiate smart. Let's go down that list again. First, use what you learned in the first part. Again, always ask, friendly to the person and product, say your 2 sentences and shut up. Silence is immensely powerful. Ask for everything you can at the start. Ask for more than you give when the trading, right? You trade something, ask for more yet. Don't answer right away. The power of silence. And be prepared to do a little play acting. It's fine. It doesn't hurt anybody. Okay? They'll do it to you. Okay. Make them go out of turn. We talked about this turn thing. My favorite was the car example I gave you. Or my favorite. You can use my favorite on anything, a job, anything. Somebody has given you a number.